In this video, we will discuss the analog increment with optional feedback, speed key, AINCF. We will begin with a new simple program with a touch panel already added and expanded into the detail view. We will add an AINCF to the logic folder in the program view by expanding the logic symbols folder in the symbol library. Expand the analog operations folder and locate the analog increment with optional feedback. Click, hold, and drag the AINCF to the logic folder and double-click to expand it into the detail view. We see the AINCF has a mix of required signals and optional signals. On the input side, we have up and down that are required. The mute and feedback signals are optional and are not required to have signal names on them to complete the AINCF. There is a group of parameters in the center that are all required for completion. On the output side, there is an analog signal AOut that is required. We will begin adding signal names to the AINCF, starting with the up signal. Give that the name of AINCF up. We will take that signal to the touch panel on digital press join 11. We will use this digital press join to trigger the AINCF to raise the AOut signal. The down signal line will get AINCF down for the signal name. We will also bring this signal to the touch panel on digital press join 12. This press join will be used to decrement the AOut value on the rising edge. Moving on to the parameters in the center. The first is increment. This will be how much the AOut signal is changed on either an up or down rising edge. For our example, we will use 2%. If the optional feedback signal is not used, on the rising edge of up, AOut equals AOut plus increment. On the rising edge of down, AOut equals AOut minus increment. We will set the hold time to 0.5 seconds and the repeat time to 0.2 seconds. The hold time and repeat time work together. When the user presses and holds the button tied to digital press join 11, after 0.5 seconds, the AINCF will begin to repeat the increment of the AOut signal every 0.2 of a second until the button is released or AOut equals the upper limit. If the user presses and holds the button tied to digital press join 12 for 0.5 seconds, then AOut will be decremented by the increment value every 0.2 of a second until the button is released or the lower limit is reached. The lower limit parameter gives the bottom range that the AINCF will operate in. For this example, we will use 0%. The upper limit will set the top of the range that the AINCF will operate in. We will use 100%. Valid values range from minus 32768D to positive 32767D for signed values, or 0D to 65535D for unsigned values. In our example, the output AOut will range from 0% to 100%, or 0D to 65535D. We often find it easier to think in percentages than decimal values. Simple windows will convert our percentage references to decimal values at compile time. Additionally, if we have to control, for example, a volume level, and the controlling device wanted minus 80 dB to plus 20 dB as a volume range, the AINCF's lower limit and upper limit can handle this. The mute level will get 0% in our example. However, you can set the mute value to any value between the lower limit and upper limit. On the output side of the AINCF, we have AOut. We will add a signal name of AINCF AOut, and will carry that signal to the touch panel on analog feedback join 11. At program start, AOut will be equal to 0D unless the optional feedback signal is used. In that case, it would be equal to the feedback signal. AOut is adjusted by the up, down, and optional mute signals. The AINCF is now complete as the mute and feedback signals are optional. We will add some signal names to them. For the mute line, use AINCF mute and bring that signal over to the touch panel on digital press join 13. When the mute line has a signal name, the AINCF mute will be engaged when the signal is high. The mute will only be engaged for as long as the signal is high. It is not latching. When the mute signal is engaged, the value of A out will be saved and A out will be set to the mute level parameter value. When the mute is disengaged, the previous value of A out is restored. The optional signal feedback signal will get AINCF A out. This is the same signal name used on A out on the output side. When A out and feedback signal are linked in this way, it allows the A out to be initialized to a specific value on startup or to accurately track the volume on an audio processor. Also, when a feedback signal is used, it changes the calculation of A out. If the feedback signal is present and up is triggered, A out equals feedback signal plus increment. On a down event, the calculation is A out equals feedback signal minus increment. This concludes this video on the analog increment with feedback symbol in simple programming.